Hello, awesome sauces. Ooh, sorry for the rough throat vibe that was thrown in there last minute. Guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing okay. Not just well, but okay and awesome. It is another Friday here, and there's nobody on the chat. Weirdly enough. Oh, here, let's try that again. There we go. Lower the hat a bit so that, we don't have to worry about the shiny head being in the way. Dang. No. Guys, I hope you are having a good day. We got our stream chat up and available. Let me just, hold on. Yep, we got it. We're good. We're okay. We're fine. We're okay. Saw Solomon's beautiful pixelated face again. And, oh man, Solomon, it's always an encouragement to have you on here. That I'm not truly out here in cyberspace just, talking wildly to myself. Though, even if I did, that's why we put out these videos. That's why we share these kind of things, to be able to invest and pour into people. So if you ever miss out or you're unable to make it to a stream, we hope that we are able to encourage you in the content that we're putting out there. It's not for entertainment. Well, some of it's for entertainment. Some of it's a little bit of fun goofiness, and I'm referring to our Nuggets of Wisdom segment, but man, Nuggets actually throws down some good wisdom as well. And I appreciate that young man. That young man so much. Like, seriously, Nuggets has done a lot and invested into this ministry. He has real heart for pouring into you guys, doing the best that we can at the best quality that we can. And he continues to raise the bar for us in what we do and asking why we do it and how we do it. And yes, Solomon, Nuggets! Excitement. That dude's pretty legit. But yeah, so now we are diving into our biblical reading section part of the goodness of what we do here. So if you want to grab your digitalized Bibles or physical Bibles, we are on Psalm 13. Warning, this is a short one. This is 6 verses. Whew, 6 verses. I know it's a lot. Just take it easy. It's a big honking piece of steak. I get it. But with how we are going to be approaching this, it's going to be good. We're going to be able to chew on this together. Also, I'm just going to give you a heads up. I've got some sinus blockage still that's going on. So if I'm super loud, tell me in the chats. If I'm not, then we're going to just keep on going and stuff like that. I'm trying not to be too loud. I'm trying to be considerate on not blowing your eardrums, because I love it that you guys don't have eardrums that are blown, and that's what we're here for. Anywho, hopefully I'm coming out to you guys clearly and effectively here. So, audio is fine and Canadian. Oh, that's... Solomon, you know the right things to say, man. Like, you throw it down. Like, man, I'm just gonna have moments with Solomon. We just talk and we just chat. We should do that, Solomon. That'd be a good stream. Considering I have yet to hear your voice. I've heard it in many different forms as far as your art, and sharing some really encouraging stuff like that. But man, it'd be nice to say at least I know what Solomon's voice sounds like. Maybe that's something that I'll at some point be able to hear, and then I'll just be able to rub in other people's faces that, haha, you didn't get to hear Solomon's voice. No. That's really mean. Sorry. Don't know what I'm saying, Solomon. I'll be nice. I'm gonna be good now. Back to what we're here for. Psalm chapter 13. O Lord, how long will you forget me? Forever? How long will you look the other way? How long must I struggle with anguish in my soul, with sorrow in my heart every day? How long will my enemy have the upper hand? Turn and answer me, O Lord my God. Restore the sparkle to my eyes, or I will die. Don't let my enemies gloat, saying, we have defeated him. Don't let them rejoice at my downfall. But I trust in your unfailing love. I will rejoice because you have rescued me. I will sing to the Lord because he is good to me. Well, guys, we're diving into a very light chapter, if you couldn't tell. Fairly chill, like just all positive things going on. No, like, sorry, that was probably a bad taste, bad form. Yeah, that was not the best. Have you ever had those times in your life where you just don't know what to say to God other than just frustration? Have you ever had those moments where you legitimately, after having such a close connection with God, feel like there's just nothing there? Like as if God had disappeared? Like you're alone with your thoughts, your feelings? You're alone in your circumstance? That even calling out feels like you're hitting a wall, or it's just echoing and it's not really going anywhere. It's just kind of doing its own thing. Guys, I feel that when David's throwing this down. And I'm not saying this is where I'm at right now, or kind of where I'm chewing on things these days. But when I sit with this, when I'm reading here what David is experiencing, yeah, I can get it. I can get where his mindset's at, where he is just like, God, are you just going to completely forget about me? Is this thing done? Like, I feel like I have no place of safety. Right? Like how long will my enemy have the upper hand? How long will I be just feeling like there's no way out of this? I'm not gonna lie, the first two verses actually brings me back to high school. And so I'm sharing a bit of my personal story. Hope you guys can bear with that. Yeah, in high school, I really felt like God wasn't there. There was a lot of stuff that was really hitting at that time. With me, with my family, with my friends. I really felt like I just didn't have God with me. I went to youth group. I was the hype guy, of course, like super ecstatic. But inside, I felt nothing. Inside, I really felt like, God, like, where are you in the midst of this? Am I just here for other people? Is all this just for the sake of other people to connect with you, and I'm just discarded goods? And I've shared this story before, but it took me calling out God. Kind of like how we talked about yesterday, how God's promises is bank, right? God's promises are true value and what we hold on to, and we can lean on it when we feel we are depleted of any funds that we can put out ourselves, right? Like out of our emotional, mental, physical health. Like God's the ones who is the supplier and the provider and the carrier of that. But you really feel these dry spells. You really feel these hard hits. And that's where David's at, right? Like, how long, O Lord, will you forget me? Forever? How long will you look the other way? And I felt that way in high school. And we were at a conference, a youth conference, major hype thing. Of course, like, you're there. It's like, it was more for the bands that I was going for that year than I was like actually trying to find God or trying to sit with God. And the speaker talked about how, like, God is our father. I was like, right, yeah. If you're my dad, I feel like you've been absent, God. I called it out. And he said, do that. Like, just be real with God in this moment. Be real and just sharing where you're at. But then when you do that and you ask for him to show up, look that he'll show up, right? I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. Like, I'm going to say this prayer and there's going to be nothing else going on. So, like, you know what? Who cares? We're just fine. We'll do the thing. I remember when I prayed, I was surrounded by people. Like, this is like a huge stadium that we had that there was tons of people at, and like, you were bumping into people all the time. And so I was like, okay, God, I'm going to whisper this because I don't want anybody else hearing this right now. And I laid it down, like, God, I just feel like you're not there. I feel like you don't care. I feel like you don't see me. I feel like you just pushed off. You're just letting things happen. So if God, you're excuse me, if you're genuinely this father that cares for me, that loves for me, that is like wholeheartedly coming after me, so to speak, then I need you to show this. I need a hug. I need to feel that you are legitimately here. And I felt this hug. I literally felt it come around. Like, as if like the biggest bear hug I've ever had in my life. And here I'm thinking, like, okay, like, some of my friends probably saw that I was like feeling really down. They gave me a hug. Sure, okay. So I opened my eyes and I was still feeling this hug. So I was fully like looking down. There was nothing there. But not only was there nothing there was nobody around me. Like, I could have twirled and spun around, hardcore, brutal ballet version, arms flailing like a madman, and I wouldn't have hit anybody. And I still felt that hug. And then I hear this voice go, Mike, I've always been here. I just need you to call me out. Call for me. I am here. And I like half near broke down. And this is where, David didn't necessarily maybe have this scenario, right? We have this situation where in the first two verses, he's calling out in desperation. Like, he's feeling completely alone. This kind of reminds us to previous Psalms where he's just like, he's crying so much his bed is soaked with the tears that are going on. It feels like he's flooded with it. He's in the chaos, right? How long must I struggle with anguish in my soul, with sorrow in my heart every day? How long will my enemy have the upper hand? Man, like, have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like things are just not working out? That just God's not there? Time and time again, I appreciate the Psalms that they are willing to call out the situation and where the person's at. And that's like emotions, that's observing the situation, that is really kind of working out this whole idea of like, God, where are you at? You're supposed to be my refuge, my strength, my place of security, my place of peace. You're the one who gives me all these promises that I can trust and rely on. But God, I'm feeling like that's not really a thing right now. I'm feeling like, where the flip are you? Putting it brazenly, I'm sorry, but like, honestly, it's like, where are you? Because I'm not seeing it. And I'm kind of getting wrecked by it. And I appreciate that God, more often than not, is willing to just say, no, you can let that out. God does not yell at us for that. I appreciate that. And so then we have verse 3, out of this feeling, of this feeling of just, where are you? What is going on? Why have you allowed this to happen? Why are my enemies able to have the upper hand for this long? So verse 3, turn and answer me, O Lord my God. Restore the sparkle in my eyes, or to my eyes, or I will die. Okay, let's chew on that a little bit. Turn and answer me, O Lord my God. Okay, so David is calling God by two names here. Lord here would be Yahweh, right? Like, so by his name, right? It's otherwise written Adonai as master, but really it's like calling his name, calling on who he is. This is the specific God. Lord, my God, my Elohim, my spiritual being who rules over, who does all this. He's individualizing God right now, right? Like, he's hyper focusing on this relationship. He knows who God is, and he's saying, turn and answer me. Please, I know your position. I know who you are. Please turn and talk to me. I can't bear with this feeling like I'm alone and separated. Hey man, it's Forgot. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate you joining us even on your phone. Hopefully we're coming through well for you. But then he asked for something different, and it's not the thing that I would have naturally called to in this moment. Restore the sparkle to my eyes, or I will die. I don't know if it's maybe supposed to be an idiom that we're supposed to be having from Hebrew or Jewish culture, but like, you can tell when someone's got hope and when they don't, right? Or when they have that peaceful perspective or that excitement in life, or they don't, right? There's like that spark that's just not there anymore. They're just coasting. They're just barely making by. And maybe that's what David's really asking in this case, is he's just saying, God, I need hope again. I need to see something that gives me the strength again to just keep going, to just keep holding on, to grip, to trust and rely on you. Because if I don't, I may, like, or I will die. I'm just like basically a goner already. Because if you can't save me, there's no chance of anything else saving me. That's a hard fact, right? Because, like, God's almighty, God's all powerful. Without him, we are dead. We're dead in sin, but also, like, the very breath you breathe is like a blessing in that way, too. And then he's making a plea on other people, right? So first it's the plea to God that he would answer him and restore him. Restore the hope, restore kind of like the strength. And then the second plea is, don't let my enemies gloat, saying, we have defeated him. Don't let them rejoice at my downfall. Okay. Oh. Okay. Two things happened in that verse. Don't let them gloat, saying we have defeated him. Don't let them rejoice at my downfall. So already he's seeing that, like, he's just going to get wrecked. And he's feeling that wreckage, right? Like, David's just feeling this wreckage at the bottom of verse 4. Those of you who are hopping on, we are on Psalm 13 and chewing through it in verse 4. Don't let my enemies gloat, saying we have defeated him. So God, don't let insult come to bear on top of it, on top of injury, right? He's down, he's feeling out. Don't let salt go on my wound, right? Don't let them go Salt Bay on this one. Don't let them rejoice at my downfall. I'm already wrecked. I'm already feeling like there's no hope. God, just give me that little bit of mercy. Thank you, Solomon. Salt. Very nice. But, like, legitimately, that, like, it would sting more, right? Nothing's worse that when you're already down, that people then just mock on top of it. And I don't know if you've experienced that kind of thing before in your life. I remember being picked on as a kid and getting, like, really beaten up, and then they would laugh at me afterwards. I'm just like, dude, you already, like, wailed on me. I don't need the, like, comments after to really add to this. Like, not feeling great. Wow, sorry to hear that. Well, like, it was a thing. Like, kids are ridiculous. That's just, like, sometimes kids are just rough. And it was not a good situation. I also didn't know how to stand up for myself. I didn't know how to do things like that. So I just kind of took the beating, but it sucked. But don't let them rejoice at your downfall, at my downfall. Like, that's an honest plea, guys. Like, when you feel like you're already beaten down, when you're kind of getting smacked around, and then to feel like your enemies or, like, people are actually, like, gloating over you and be like, whatever, right? This is where we saw, like, former sayings where, you know, the evil, they will, they essentially just keep on mocking, like, as if God's not here, right? Who's gonna stop us? What can the righteous do? Like, it just, the wicked just kind of push on. And this is interesting. The wicked's not mentioned. These are just enemies. These are just people that are pushing against David. So when he's feeling barraged, it's almost like he's built this up along to have this consistent language that you're almost initially reacting to that. Oh, those are bad guys. Those are the wicked. That you're trusting that, you know, he's faithful. He's been leaning on God. And so this is where maybe David has been experienced that. And he's just like, God, I don't get it, man. Like, I'm sticking with you. I'm holding on to you. I'm trying to cling on to you, and I feel like you've forgotten me. So please answer me. Please give me some hope, something to push through this. Because I'm already down and feeling down and out. And the enemy just keeps on throwing it at me. Like, that's rough, guys. And you guys felt that way? And you guys ever experienced that kind of hit where you've been so down, so out, and people just keep on adding on top of it, or putting more salt into that wound, or rubbing it in a way that's just uncomfortable, and it just doesn't help your situation. It just creates more pain. Like, throw it down in the chat if you have. Like, throw down a broken heart if you got it, because, like, I get that. I hear that. That sucks. So no wonder why he feels alone. He feels desperate. Because he's not seeing where the hope is. But then again, this wouldn't be David if there wasn't a flip around at some point. And we see this in verse 5 and 6. But I trust in your unfailing love. I will rejoice because you have rescued me. I will sing to the Lord because he is good to me. So I want to note these things right here. But I trust in your unfailing love. Okay, so this is what he's doing right now. He's trying to maintain his focus. He's trying to remember, okay, so like God's unfailing love. His love is there. He is not just loving on me, he is loving on the people that are around me causing this problem, right? Like, the unfailing love just keeps coming, just keeps on trusting. So God is there. God sees this. And what are the other parts? Oh, right, so God is compassionate. He is merciful. He is slow to anger, and he is faithful. Okay, so, but I need to know God is loving on me. Like, that this turning away isn't because he's angry or isn't because he's upset with me, that he does love me here. And then he puts almost a promise trust in front of him. I will rejoice because you have rescued me. So he's already picturing, you know what, God's going to help me through this. I trust in your unfailing love. And so because I trust in your unfailing love, I'm going to rejoice when this is going to be turned around. I'm going to rejoice because you have rescued me. There is going to be a way out of this situation. I don't know how it is, but there will be a way. Verse 6, I will sing to the Lord because he is good to me. So now, there's not only the hopeful promise that he's going to get out of it, that God's going to take care of him, but now, in result of this, I know what I'm going to be doing. The first thing I do, I'm going to be singing and praising God because he was good to me. I'm going to thank him, essentially, for how he showed up, because my trust in him was not without value, right? Again, back to our verse yesterday, the one that I think is so key for us to remember. The Lord's promises are pure, like silver refined in a furnace, purified 7 times over. And what was one of the promises that we read yesterday on that? It was verse 5. I have seen the violence done to the helpless. I have heard the groans of the poor. Now I will rise up to rescue them, as they have longed for me to do. Ooh, so it's almost like David had to wrestle with this. It's beautifully paired together here, where we see this, okay, David has cried out, longing, asking, begging, and he knows how God said he was going to do something. So now I trust in your unfailing love, the love that doesn't turn a blind eye to what's going on, or a deaf ear does not shut me out. You see this, and I know I'm going to rejoice. I will be amped when you come and rescue me, because I put that promise in the bank. And it was good. It was there. It was something I could trust and rely on. I will sing to the Lord because he is good to me. I'm going to thank you for how you showed up, because you are reliable. You are faithful. So, out of all of this in chapter 13, I think it's another reflection of how we can talk to God in our pain. I appreciate how, obviously, chapter 12 goes before chapter 13, because that's just chronological numbers and goodness. But David could have easily written it the other way. Let's wrestle with that, right? David could have wrestled with this in a way that he just sat on Psalm 13 and just be brutal on this. He could have started off with that, things just suck. So God, are you there? I'm going to trust in that. But then that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Because we need to know why we can trust. We need to know what's the baseline of that trust. And that's where it's so helpful to have verse 12, that God himself does respond. God himself does care and does heed what's going on in our life. He is the one who sees and wants to be involved and invested. And then he says, trust me in it. Put it out there. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So then that's what David does here. And not only is he just calling out, because he hasn't seen the results. He hasn't said that the results have happened. He's shifting his mind. He's changing it from, this sucks, this is brutal, God, where are you? Just don't let my enemies add insult to injury. But you know what, God, in the midst of it, I'm just gonna remember who you are. I'm gonna remember who you are. and trust that you are going to be faithful in that. And just lean that God's got my back. He's going to help carry me through this. And I'm going to thank him when he does that, because God is faithful. He is good. He is true. And I can just trust and rely on that. So same challenge as yesterday, guys. Same challenge as what I threw down yesterday. Do you got promises that, one, you can remember to keep your eyes focused on God, but then also to call God out for it? Because it's both an aid for you to trust in God, but then it's also God, this is what you've said. This is why I'm calling this out. This is why I'm needing you to respond, because it says here you will respond. And not that God really needs reminders of his promises. He's kind of like an amazing, all-knowing and all-powerful being, right? Like, by any means, we are the ones that we need to be reminded of what God has promised. Because we get in panic mode. And I vouch on this. I am the kind of guy that gets into panic mode pretty quickly. As far as like where my head goes. And I've seen this with my kids. And it's funny how God uses kids to like teach a lesson, or teach me a lesson, I guess is really the thing. When my kids start to spiral, when they start like going down on like one item and then everything sucks and it just keeps going down, it's brutal. And it tries to drag us all in. And I've appreciated my wife so much on this. In seeing how she's done this with our kids. And it's something that we both have been trying to work on, but I really appreciated seeing my wife do this. She didn't go into panic mode with my kids. Instead of going right down into panic mode, she's like, "Hey kiddo, like what's the situation?" Like, just hearing the situation, letting them share it, empathizing with them. Like, she'll go, "Yeah, that really sucks. Oh, that's really annoying. Yeah, that's really hard. That's brutal. Sorry you feel that way. Sorry that's just hitting hard. Can we just like hug it out right now? Like, just hug, like, just, not that we're not seeing the emotion or not acknowledging it, but not like, sometimes you need a hug. And so it will be a hug or a hand hold, or just like, what do you need right now in this moment? And then she's able to then address things, because sometimes when you're in panic mode, you say things that are really harsh. And she'll talk to either characteristics of me or her based on the situation, that you can just trust that we got their back. How do you know that you can trust that we got our back? Well, we make sure you've got clothes on. Make sure you are fed. Make sure you're taken care of. We hear you out. We hold you. We love you. We care for you. We invest in you. So you can trust that when we're saying, you know, this really sucks, but we can work this out together, that it will get worked out. May not be the way that you want it, or exactly the absolute perfect way, but we are here. We're going to figure this out. We're going to do this together. And I've seen more and more my kids are learning over time how to break that in themselves a little bit. Still, like, they're pretty young, so like they're still working on it, but that's kind of us with God, right? And I'm not saying that we then create self-healing, but when we remember God's promises and we focus on the promises rather than just the brutal situations, we saw that happen here in chapter 13. David's perspective shifted. He went from just like, God, where are you? Where's your presence? Where's your face? I'm getting slapped around. No one's got my back. but I will trust in your unfailing love. I will trust that you will be the one. I will rejoice when you rescue me. He's putting out a promise. He's putting out a reassurance that, God, you say you're going to do that. So I'm going to trust that that's going to actually happen. That you're there for the righteous. You defend the righteous. You protect those who are helpless. Like, he's leaning on things that he's seen as promises by God. And this would have been, by the way, through study of the Torah. So this would have been Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, where he's reading through this as a king, or he would have heard this in synagogue. Just like, wow, God is so faithful. That's where he's learning about God's his unfailing love. He is faithful, but his unfailing love continues to invest in that way, right? Like he's always there through that process. So what are the promises that you were learning? And when are you talking to God about those? In the midst of your difficulties, in the midst of all that you're facing. When my kids call me out on the promises that I have made, I don't see it as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing. Because sometimes I totally forget. I'm not the best at all that all the time. But, no. Yeah. Yo. So, Solomon threw down Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 7 to 8. His is in the stream. For some reason, my water bottle decided to hang out right in front of it. Super annoying. So, I'm going to read. Hopefully, I'm not trying to offend you, Solomon. I'm just going to read it out of my NLT version. Jeremiah 17, 7 to 8. Let's chew on this. Oh, yo. Hey, this is almost like a quote from a certain part of the Bible. What? But blessed are those who trust in the Lord and have made the Lord their hope and confidence. They are like trees planted along a riverbank with roots that reach deep into the water. Such trees are not bothered by the heat or worried by long months of drought. Their leaves stay green, and they never stop producing fruit. Huh. That sounds very similar to maybe Psalm chapter 1. Like what we were reading a while ago, or stuff like that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's awesome. No, that's a good word. Solomon, that's good chewing on that. I love how that's re-quoted, right? And that's actually from the words of God in Jeremiah here. And this is all about, this is in the midst of dealing with sin. But I find it interesting, in the midst of dealing with sin, specifically Judah's sin, he brings up this reminder: blessed are those who trust in the Lord and have made the Lord their hope and confidence. It's like, guys, remember, who are we supposed to be leaning on this whole time? We're supposed to be leaning on God. They're like trees planted on the riverbank. Again, like those weeping willows, those really strong roots. Big honking trees. With roots that reach deep into the water. Such trees are not bothered by the heat or worried by long months of drought. Because they're tied to the river. Their leaves stay green. And they never stop producing fruit. Even in drought or in heat, when the environment is not great, if our roots are running deep and saturated in God's word and God's love, which really they're one and the same, and God's word is his love, that's where we get sustained. That's where we can wade through these difficult situations. It doesn't mean it makes it easy, straight up, it's not easy. But he is there, and we can trust, we can have hope, we can have focus on him. So, work on those promises, guys. Grow in just holding on to him and relying on him. Because when we do that, we're able to keep our heads high in the midst of it. Trust that he is there. He's gonna be there. He's there even currently. He doesn't have to show up later. He is there too. We just sometimes don't see it. Yes. So work on promises of God. That's your challenge. That's your challenge over the weekend. Maybe do a bunch of research on what are the promises that God makes in the Bible. I'm sure there's a ginormous list somewhere. But check it out, and work on meditating on that and memorizing it. Because what good is a promise if you don't remember it? Just saying. Remembering a promise is important, because then you can really lean on it and you can have hope in it too. Anywho, guys, I'm gonna pray and then we're gonna close off. So yeah. God, I thank you for this time where we've been able to sit on a heavy thing in Psalm 13, where we can feel like we are alone. We are alone. We've been struggling, and you feel far away. God, help us to do what the psalmist does. Just simply call out to you. Be honest with you. Share where we are at. The thing I've valued most out of David in his psalms has been just the brutal honesty of what he's been going on. And I don't read you rebuking that. I read you meeting him in that situation. And he trusts enough in you and the promises that you've made to rely on you, to find his strength and hope in you. So God, if we are in that mode, if we are in that space where we feel like you are not there or you are not hearing us, and we have been calling out to you, God, restore the glimmer in our eyes, the sparkle in our eyes, the hope. Speak to us audibly. Hold us physically. Embrace us so that we can know we are not alone and we are not facing things alone. That we can rest and trust in you and rely on you. Thank you for your unfailing love. It pursues us even when we don't expect it. Just help us to be real, to come to you, to bring these promises to you, and then expect you to do something. Because if it's a promise you've made, then it's one that you'll keep. So help us to be able to submit, to wait, to look to you, and to trust you through it all. Give us your mindset. Give us your vision. But more so, give us your heart. That's what's going to create the biggest change in our world. That's the kind of change that turns our enemies into our friends. That turns our desperation into peace. Help us to hold on to you. We ask this in your name. Amen. Whew. Heavy stuff, guys. Good stream. Good chewing on this. Thank you again for hanging out and being with us during this time. We will be back on next Tuesday. Yeah, that's right. as we dive into Psalm chapter 14. Hey, no pre-reading or spoiler alerts, okay? You know, we gotta enjoy this together. But it's gonna be good times. I'm looking forward to it. Just as Solomon had thrown down into our chat, feel free to jump into our Discord community. We have a great group of people that are just, you know, connecting with awesome peeps like you, and just wanting to hang out. Oh no, Menace forgot. Sorry, I was listening the whole time. I just couldn't talk much. Great stream. Appreciate that, Menace. That was really nice. Appreciate that. I just hope it was encouraging. Hope that it was something that is investing in you and challenging in you in your heart. That's our goal. We want to level up in faith together. And part of that is kind of wrestling. How do we need to trust and rely on God? What are the next steps that we need to be doing? And I think really this one is saying, guys, are we remembering the promises that God has made with us? And then are we willing to go, hey, God, you made this promise here. I need you to show up here. And just being real and honest, and then expecting him to respond or to do something. That was the shift for David there. And I think that can be the shift for you. Sit on God's word daily, guys. It will legitimately change your brain, the chemistry, and how it goes, and how you look at life, and really learning how to lean on God more. Because imagine that's what we're supposed to do. Brain. Anyway, guys, take it easy. Love y'all. Have a great weekend. See ya.